The fear of spending is not really about money. It's about trust. The ability to say to yourself, I can allow myself to live. When a person is afraid to spend, even on what they genuinely need, they are not saving, they are denying themselves life. And not because they lack resources, but because they lack a sense of inner safety. To spend is an act of faith, faith that tomorrow will come, that you'll manage, that the world is not against you but walking beside you. Most people don't live with a lack of money, they live with a lack of trust. Trust in themselves, in the process, in time, in the universe. Money becomes the mirror of our inner state. When there's anxiety inside, a person starts building their life around the illusion of control, saving for a rainy day, avoiding pleasure, refusing small joys. But that control doesn't make life richer, it only makes it narrower, emptier, colder. The fear of spending is a shadow from the past. Perhaps there was a time when it really was difficult, when every coin mattered, when losing something meant real pain. But those old stories should rule the present. Money is a flow, and a flow cannot move through a clenched fist. Every time you deny yourself out of fear, you tell life, I don't trust you. And life, obediently, reflects that back. To stop fearing spending, you must heal not your wallet but your sense of security. You have to rediscover stability not in the amount you have, but in the understanding that you can always create more. Money is not a goal or a guarantee. It is a current of energy, a movement. Its purpose is not to be hoarded, but to circulate. And when you stop fearing its loss, paradoxically, it begins to come to you more easily. Every expense is a reflection of your relationship with yourself. When you buy something with ease, you're saying to yourself, I am worthy. When you hesitate, feel guilt, or self-criticize, you're whispering, I don't deserve. The ability to spend mindfully is an act of self-respect. It's not about indulgence, it's about recognizing that you are alive, you can choose, and you can enjoy without fear. People often mistake the fear of spending for discipline. But that fear doesn't lead to wisdom, it leads to scarcity thinking. Frugality born of fear doesn't make you strong, it makes you smaller. Frugality born of clarity, on the other hand, brings peace. The same action, saving, can either be an expression of anxiety or an act of awareness. The difference is in the inner state from which it comes. When you live in a mindset of lack, you're always surviving. You can't create, you can't give, you can't dream. You don't refrain from spending because you don't need. You refrain because you're afraid. Yet life is cyclical. The moment you release something, something else comes to take its place. Spending means allowing movement. Look at nature. It gives constantly. Trees shed their leaves, the sea ebbs and flows, the seasons shift without resistance. Nature doesn't cling, because it trusts the cycle. If you want to live in harmony, you must stop being a keeper of what's already gone and become a participant in the rhythm of giving and receiving. When you feel afraid to spend, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Loss, judgment, uncertainty, or perhaps I'm afraid to believe that I can live differently. Fear of spending often hides deeper programs. There's never enough, life is struggle, you must save, or you'll end up with nothing. These beliefs live quietly in the background, shaping your choices without you realizing it. To stop fearing, don't fight the fear, observe it. Notice when it arises, and gently return to reality. Fear lives in the future, in the what if. Life lives only here, in the now. And in the now, there is almost always enough. Spending is not about recklessness, it's about trust. When you trust, you spend with awareness, not impulsiveness. You see money not as your shield, but as a tool of connection. You no longer worship it, but you also don't reject it. You treat it with respect, as something alive, moving, responding to energy. Letting go of fear doesn't mean spending on everything. It means developing discernment, choosing what nourishes you, not what fills the void. Fear of spending is rarely about finances, it's about emptiness inside. A person afraid to lose external resources doesn't yet feel their internal ones. But once that inner strength appears, the fear fades, because you understand that wealth begins with your state, not your savings. To stop fearing spending, you must also learn to receive. To accept pleasure, support, abundance. Many people know how to work hard, to earn, to provide, but not to receive. They think joy must be deserved, comfort must be justified. But life doesn't ask for justification. Life gives naturally. And when you refuse to receive, you block the current of abundance itself. The path to peace with money begins with trust in the process of life. It doesn't mean throwing caution to the wind. It means recognizing that movement is natural. Losing is not a failure if you know how to rebuild. Money flows not to those who grip tightly, but to those who move in rhythm with life. Abundance is not about having everything, it's about not fearing the flow of change. To spend with trust is to tell yourself, I am safe. It's choosing life over fear. Because fear never truly protects, it only paralyzes. Life, on the other hand, keeps flowing, expanding, offering. Maybe it's time to allow yourself not only to earn, but to live. Not only to calculate, but to trust. Not only to keep, but to give. Because the greatest wealth is not in what you have, but in how lightly you can let go. Knowing that everything meant for you always finds its way back.